Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be looking at converting a standard form equation into factored form and thus being able to solve it. Now this is a fun video because I literally have nothing new to teach you here. Every skill that you need in order to do this, you already have. We just have to know that these are the skills that we're putting together. So what we're going to do is we're only going to look at one problem in this. We're going to look at taking the equation y equals x squared minus 2x minus 15, which is in standard form, and we're going to look at how we move that from standard form to intercept form like that. And then what we'll realize is that once we have it in intercept form, we already know how to solve that. So let's take a look at the first step in this, which is to factor our equation. So what we want to do is we want to kind of ignore the equation side of this and just look at that part right there, which is really just a polynomial of degree 2. It's x squared minus 2x minus 15. And what we know about these things is that if this is a polynomial, I can perhaps factor this by splitting this middle term into two parts and then factoring by grouping. Now, it's important to understand that this doesn't always work. If the polynomial, the quadratic in this case, can't be factored, then you cannot use this technique to solve the equation. Now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's hit or miss. The only way to know is to actually try it. So we'll take this one, and if you'll remember, to factor one of these trinomials, I have to find a, b, and c. A in this case is 1, b is negative 2, and c is negative 15. And then I want to find factors that are factors of a times c, which is negative 15 in this case, that add up to b. So I need the factors of 15, or negative 15, so that could be negative 1 and 15, or it could be 1 and negative 15. That could be negative 3 and 5, or 3 and negative 5. You're also welcome to use your calculator to find these. But we need the ones that add up to negative 2, and there we go right there. 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2. So this is our winner right here. We're now going to split that middle term into a minus 5x plus 3x. And I rearranged the order of those just so that I would have positive, negative, so that when I factor by grouping, I don't have to factor out a negative 1. It'll still work if you do the other way. You just left yourself a little bit more work. Notice again that negative 5 comes from right there. That 3 comes from right there. Now we're going to factor by grouping. And hopefully you remember this process. So I'll take x squared and 5x and I'll find the prime factorization of them. Again, this is stuff we've done. X times x, that's negative 1 times 5 times x. They've got an x in common, and so that leaves me with an x left over from the first one and a minus 5 from the second one. Do the same thing over here. 3x would be 3 times x, negative 15 is negative 1 times 3 times 5. If you have to take a little bit more time to do a factor tree or the inverse division on that, that's fine, or the upside down division I should say. But in any case, they have a 3 in common, so I would have 3x minus 5. Put it all together, and I end up with, and I'll do this in blue to kind of keep with our pattern that we had over there, we've got x plus 3 times x minus 5. And now I factored that. Factoring means turning into a multiplication problem, and there it is. So now what I need to do is I need to solve the equation that I've just factored. So what I've done is I've rewritten the equation. Instead of y equals x squared blah 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 in standard form, I've now converted that over to factored form, And in order to solve this, well, if I'm solving it, if I'm finding the roots, those are the places by definition where y is equal to 0. And so I go through this whole process. Pardon me, that is not plus 5, but rather minus 5. So I go through this whole process of solving this from factored or intercept form like we know how to do. I split this into two parts. Using the zero product property, either x plus 3 has to be equal to 0 or x minus 5 has to be equal to 0. I can solve both of those very quickly and easily. And what I find is that x must be either -3 or 5. So again, all I've done on this is that I took my equation in standard form, I factored it, which turns it into factored form, and then I can use the zero product property to solve it.